One moment you're draped in luxury, driving the finest cars, commanding respect with just your name. The next, it's all gone. Your fortune erased, your so-called friends nowhere to be found, and the glamorous fiancée who once clung to your arm, she's already moved on. But one person still answers your call. The woman you once discarded without a second thought. Your ex-wife. The same woman you replaced, underestimated, and walked away from like a closed business deal. Now, she holds the power, and you're the one begging for a lifeline. Will she save you, or let you sink, just as you once did to her? Omar Al-Fayez wasn't just rich, he was the definition of untouchable wealth. He wasn't the guy who checked price tags. He was the guy who bought the entire store just because he could. His name alone could close million-dollar deals, and his presence commanded attention in every high-end hotel, luxury car showroom, and private yacht event. If there was a VIP list, he wasn't just on it, he owned it. Private jets? He had 3. Mansions? Too many to count. And women? Oh, they adored him. Models, actresses, high society elites, all competing for a chance to be draped on his arm. But money wasn't just his power, it was his identity. And he treated people accordingly. Business partners were tools. Employees were disposable. And relationships? Well, they were just investments. Temporary, replaceable. His ex-wife, Layla, she had once been everything to him. But somewhere along the way, she became a footnote in his rise to power. She wasn't flashy enough, not high-profile enough. She didn't belong in his new world of billion-dollar deals and extravagant parties. So, he left her. Just like that. A clean break, no regrets. After all, he was Omar Al-Fayez. He had everything. He didn't need her. Or so he thought. Because life has a funny way of humbling men like him. And when the fall comes, it's never gentle. The cracks in his empire started small. A risky deal here, a lawsuit there. Nothing he couldn't handle. At least that's what he told himself. But the thing about power? When it starts to slip, it doesn't just crumble, it collapses. One morning, he woke up to whispers of financial trouble. By noon, those whispers had become full-blown panic. And by night, his fortune had evaporated. A business rival he once laughed at had outplayed him. His biggest investors pulled out. His company was drowning in lawsuits. Banks froze his assets. Creditors circled like vultures. And the people he thought would stand by him? Oh, they were the first to disappear. His business partners stopped taking his calls. His assistants suddenly weren't available. Even his so-called friends, the ones who drank his champagne and partied on his yachts, now acted like they'd never met him. But the real cherry on top? His fiancée, the glamorous, high-profile model who once clung to his arm at every red carpet event, vanished faster than his stock value. One minute, she was whispering sweet promises in his ear. The next, she was so sorry. But things were just too complicated. Complicated? Oh, please. She didn't want a complicated man. She wanted a rich one. And since Omar was no longer that, she walked away without hesitation. For the first time in his life, Omar was truly alone. No assistants, no investors, no fancy dinners or exclusive parties, just silence and the crushing weight of reality. He needed help, desperately. But help doesn't come easy when you've spent your life treating people like chess pieces. Because when the game is over, the pieces don't care about the player anymore. Star. Omar had exhausted every option. He had called every friend, every connection, every person who had once begged to be in his circle. And you know what he got in return? Voicemail, excuses, radio silence. Then, his eyes landed on a name he hadn't thought about in years. Layla, his ex-wife. The woman he had once promised forever to, only to trade her in for a lifestyle upgrade. He hesitated. Layla had every reason to hate him, every reason to ignore him. And honestly, he wouldn't even blame her if she laughed in his face. But desperation has a way of making even the proudest men swallow their pride. So, with shaking hands and a bruised ego, he dialed her number. 1 ring, 2 rings, 3 dash. And then, she answered. A silence hung between them, thick with unspoken words, buried history, and the weight of a broken past. Omar? Her voice was cautious, unsure. He took a deep breath. Layla, I need your help. Another pause. Longer this time. He braced for anger, for rejection, for the cold, satisfying slap of karma. But what came next was something he never expected. I'm listening. No sarcasm, no cruelty, no "I told you so." Just understanding. And for the first time in his life, Omar realized something shocking. The woman he had left behind was the only person who had never truly left him. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It's completely free, and we bring you shocking real-life stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. If you love drama, betrayal, and unexpected twists, then hit that subscribe button now. Because trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Pride is a dangerous thing, and for Omar Al-Fayez, it was the hardest pill to swallow. He had built his entire identity around wealth, power, and control. Now, he was powerless, and the woman he once looked down upon was the only one offering him a lifeline. At first, he resisted. His ego screamed at him to fix things on his own, to claw his way back, to prove to the world and himself that he didn't need anyone. But reality doesn't care about pride. His savings were gone. His assets were frozen. His so-called friends had erased his number. And Layla? She wasn't offering a loan. She wasn't handing him a blank check. Number. She was offering something much harder to accept. Humility. If you want my help, Omar, you have to be willing to start over. Not as a billionaire. Not as a tycoon. As a man willing to rebuild from nothing. It was a test. A challenge. And Omar knew it. But what choice did he have? For the first time in his life, he nodded. Tell me what I need to do. Help wasn't going to come easy. Layla had rules, and Omar had no choice but to follow them. First, no shortcuts, no special treatment. If he wanted to earn back stability, he had to work for it. Second, no luxury. No five-star hotels, no designer suits, no expensive watches. If he was serious about turning his life around, he had to live like a normal person. And the third, respect. No arrogance, no dismissing people as beneath him. If he wanted a second chance, he had to prove he was worth it. And so, the billionaire who once controlled entire industries found himself working a regular job. No chauffeurs, no assistants, just Omar, learning what it meant to start from zero. At first, it was hell. Omar struggled with things he once took for granted. Waking up without a personal chef? Unbelievable. Budgeting every dollar instead of spending recklessly? Torture. Taking public transport? A complete nightmare. But something unexpected happened. With every challenge, every lesson, Omar began to change. He started understanding the value of hard work. He saw the struggles of ordinary people, people he had ignored his entire life. He learned how to respect money, how to listen, how to be human again. And Layla? She wasn't just helping him financially. She was teaching him, showing him what true strength looked like, not in wealth, but in character. For the first time in years, Omar felt something he had forgotten existed. Purpose. Months passed. Omar, the man who once owned skyscrapers, now understood the value of a single paycheck. The man who once dismissed loyalty now cherished the people who stood by him. And then, the opportunity came. A new business deal. A fresh start. Not as a billionaire, not as a tycoon, but as a self-made man, built from the ashes of his past mistakes. And when the offer came, Omar didn't hesitate. But this time, he didn't chase money. He chased meaning. And standing beside him, through it all, was Layla. Layla had saved him. No doubt about it. But the real question? Would she take him back? Omar had changed. He had grown. He had become the man Layla always believed he could be. But was it too late? One evening, as the sun set over the city, Omar looked at Layla and finally asked the question burning inside him. Layla, do you think we have a second chance? She smiled, but it wasn't the answer he expected. Omar, you've finally become a man I respect, but the past can't always be rewritten. Silence. Omar had spent months hoping, believing that this was his redemption arc, that he could have it all back. But Layla? She had moved on. She had saved him. She had given him wisdom, strength, and a new future. But her heart? It belonged to the past. Omar learned the hardest lesson of his life. Wealth can be gained and lost overnight. But character? That's what defines a man. He had spent his life chasing money, power, and luxury, only to realize that the greatest riches were the people who stood by him when he had nothing. Layla didn't stay, but she gave him something more valuable than a second chance at love. She gave him a second chance at himself. And this time, Omar wouldn't waste it. Star, what do you think? Should Layla have taken him back? Or was Omar's betrayal unforgivable? Let me know in the comments below. And if you love stories with shocking twists, powerful lessons, and unforgettable characters, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because we have more stories coming your way. Thanks for watching, and remember, true wealth isn't in your bank account. It's in the people who stand by you when everything else is gone. Star.